Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Ghouls Gone Wild podcast. I'm your host, Adam Gorak. And my guest for today, he is the guitarist for the band LA Guns. He also played for Faster Pussycat and Unwritten Law and Murphy's Law. And LA Guns has released a new album called Black Diamonds, which is amazing. You should go and check that out. But please welcome the one and only and the handsome Ace Von Johnson.
What's up? How's it going?
Not much, not much, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. Just working, slaving away here in my office/man cave. Just working on a
Yeah,
few things.
I just all this stuff in the background looks fucking sick. I like it, dude.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I got my. This is it's a 2 bedroom here, and so it's kind of like my. It is my office, but then it's like my like. I don't have. I try not to like do a lot of toys at this point in my life. I feel like I'm too old to be collecting a bunch of stuff like that. But what little I
And
have at this point is like, it's like to keep me inspired on like writing and being a dork, I guess, really was kind of the easiest way to put it. So it's like all studio equipment and
yeah,
monitors and outboard equipment and guitars and then records and toys and everything. So it's the
yeah,
real
it's kind of like me because like this is like my bedroom slash podcast room slash jamming room. You know what I
cool.
mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the man cave as well. But yeah, so what's been going on with you and the world today, and with LA Guns and stuff like that?
We just finished a summer tour. We were out for most of June and July, and I think bled into August. And then, so what? It's October now. Um, I took the month off. We took the month off. I've been working on a couple other things. So I had sort of requested to have a couple weeks to focus on some other projects, and which I'm waist deep in now. I don't know if you see me pick my phone up, it's because I'm trying to multitask. So I apologize. But yeah, and then we've got some shows starting at the end of November, going into December, through the holidays. Our usual New Year's Eve show at the Whiskey A Go Go, and then. Some stuff at the end of January. We're playing with Don Felder from the Eagles at some
Ah,
point,
nice.
which is cool. And some more stuff with Tom Kiefer and some headline shows in February. And then that'll trickle into the spring. And I think we have another single from the album coming out, TBD. And that's it, man. Just kind of slowly chipping away at the stone. This is kind of like my I'm right in the middle of kind of basically having like a month off for the first time in a while. So I'm just trying to like inadvertently spread myself thin with everything that my attention requires outside of LA Guns, since we're off at the moment. And that's
Yeah,
staying busy, basically. A long way around it.
busy is good too. It actually keeps your mind active.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I not a day goes by where I'm not, sitting down working on something. Uh,
Yeah,
and I've got 3 dogs, so that keeps me pretty busy when I'm home too. So there's no
yeah.
stuff to do. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. We can talk about your dogs later on because I've been following you on Instagram for a very long time now. I've pretty much been following you since you joined LA Guns.
Cool.
So
Appreciate that.
and I've watched a couple of some episodes, some interviews as well of you talking about your dogs and stuff. But we can get into that as well, and of course horror, because this is the reason why I call this podcast "Ghouls Gone Wild."
Yeah.
Even though I got this from an Alice Cooper track.
Oh yeah, that's newer.
Yeah. But what's it like sharing the same stage with Phil and Tracy?
I mean, it's pretty awesome, to be honest. They both, outside of just LA Guns, really amazing bodies of work. Tracy's done so much stuff, just even as a session guy. Of course, Brides of Destruction.
Yes.
I mean, he is the namesake of, he is the Guns from Guns N' Roses. Phil, I love hanging with Phil. and talking about and just sort of asking him about like England in the 70s and
Yeah.
kind of coming up around that time when sort of punk rock was happening. And I had the balls to ask him maybe last month recently. I was like, hey, did you ever see AC/DC in their original form? And he's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I saw him in 77 in a pub with 40 people. And I was like, oh, shit, okay,
Yeah.
so the thing that I like the most is all the sort of like garnish, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, cool, it's like Tracy and Phil from LA Guns, but like, at this point, we've covered that, and I'm in the band, so it's hard to get like you know hung up on that at this point. To me, I'm like I, you know I'll be like, Trace, dude, what was it like in 85 when Axel's like
Yeah.
living in your fucking basement, stuff like that. Not so obvious stuff. Or talking about going to see the Germs and punk rock stuff, and that's definitely one of my sort of like favorite elements of being in the band, outside of the like blatantly obvious, like getting to play Never Enough and
Yeah.
Electric Gypsy and stuff like that on a regular basis. Is all the like, they just have such a amazing history as musicians, that it's really cool to pick their brains about stuff like that, outside of just like, oh man, like LA Guns stuff, so.
Yeah.
But it's a great gig. I love my guys. I've known Tracy and Phil both for, I don't know, 11, 12, 13 years. I think the first tour I did when I was in Faster Pussycat, I can't remember if it was in 2009 or 2010. I think it was 10. We went out with Tracy's version of LA Guns. So that was 13 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And so I got to know him at that point, just casually. And then at some point I struck up a friendship with Phil separately, and then would get up and play like auxiliary guitar with him. It must have been at least a dozen times, maybe more. LA Guns, Phil's version at the time without Tracy, would play, and either it was with Faster Pussycat, or maybe I was just at the show, or we were on a festival together, and he'd be like, do you want to come up and play some songs with us, mate? And I'd be like, okay. And so I would just jump up and play Gypsy and Rip and Tear and Ballad of Jane and like whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember telling one of them, I was like, just give me $100 a show and I'll stay in, like, I'll be in the band, like fucking whatever, man. Like, I'm punk rock, who cares? I know the fucking songs. And it never happened. It just never came to fruition, which is probably for the best anyhow. And then when they put the reunion lineup back together, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, I got a phone call, and there were a multitude of reasons why it didn't work out. But, after, let's say 8 months, 9 months, a year-ish or so, eventually scheduling and everything else, all the, pieces aligned or stars aligned or whatever. And I ended up going out with them. And, it was, for me, it was just meant to be like a trial kind of basis. Like I was like, oh, I'll go do these 10 shows with them. And if,
like a hired gun.
Yeah, basically, and I didn't want to sort of abandon ship Faster Pussycat just on a whim, that I'd go do this LA Guns thing and see what happens. And I did both for about a year, roughly, and then eventually I had to sort of pick a gig, and clearly I ended up staying with LA Guns, and it's worked out. I mean, I have a great relationship with Tammy still, and Sam Bam Colton, who's in Faster Pussycat now, who I literally handpicked to take my place. And I talk to him every day, so it's all good. It's all good. And so it's been an interesting trip going from one band to the other, and a couple other things, playing with Steven Adler and all these other folks from that sort of world, that genre. And it's a great group of people that I've got to work with. So
no, that's awesome. And like to do double duties as well must be fucking exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I'm watching. I mentioned Sam Bam Colton. I'm watching him do this right now because he's at that sort of stage in his career where he's, you just have to say yes to everything until something lands, and in the sense that he's playing in all these different projects and bands and jam nights, and like, do you want to go out with this one artist for 3 days and then come home and play a jam night and then immediately fly over to Europe and pick apples in Albania? And it's just like, yeah, 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 yes, yes, yes. And I can't remember the number, but I think at a certain point in my 20s, I was in like 11 bands, like all at once, and it was the worst thing ever. And it just was so much to manage. And if anyone's ever been in a functional band, you understand how much it's like being in like a relationship with each of those people. It's like you're kind of like dating each of them. Like you're like, oh God, okay, Steve's having a bad week, so we got to be really gentle with him,
Yeah,
or like whatever the fuck it is. I mean, I was just on another project Zoom call literally until 20 minutes before this,
yeah,
and it's different. You're working with different personality types, and this person might be really outgoing, this person might be really reserved, or this person might be really hard to please, or this person may like, dude, everything you sent's fucking awesome, so there's just all these different things. So multitasking, doing multiple gigs at once itself, even just 2 gigs, just having 2 gigs, it's just all those personalities you're working with and encountering. And let's
yeah,
face it, no musician, all of our art, all of us artistic types are all very sensitive and artsy,
yeah,
tortured artists. So there's all that. It's not just like, oh, I'm in 5 projects with 4 people each and they're all normal functional people. It's like, no, motherfucker, these are like, like, the singer and the guitar player and the drummer. And it's like, you think about drummers, their whole modus operandi is hitting things. Like, that's not normal. So, there's just all these factors that come into play when you're doing projects, let alone 1 band or 2 bands or 4 bands. It's a lot. It's a lot of, like, uh, a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, who's also my old tour manager, has a psychology degree, and that's why he's the best tour manager I've ever had, because he's literally a fucking psychologist. So he'll be like,
yeah.
okay, now show me on the doll where the singer yelled at you. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
like that.
so a
I, I
lot of that.
I
A
think
lot of that.
every band should have that. Cause I'm pretty sure Metallica did that too in like the Saint Anger period or some shit like that.
Yeah, it was the what's that document? Some kind of monster documentary, which
Yeah,
I watch probably on an annual basis, because I find it to be really grounding and humbling to watch these guys that are worth individually more money than most people will ever see in 5 lifetimes,
yes,
argue about these trivial things. Like, I think your drum sound is a little wonky. Oh, my favorite line from that movie is, he goes, I think that riff is a little stock.
yeah.
And that whole thing. And like, I use that. I'll be like, yeah, the bass line's cool, but it's a little stock. Maybe you could, church it up a little bit. So again, you're dealing with all these personality types, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who, I'm a personality type, and they're like, oh, that fucking Ace guy, what a jerk. So it just is what it is. You asked a short question, I gave you a long answer, but
It's all good, man.
doing the 2 gigs was fine. I would have stayed in both as long as I could, but eventually I had to sub out. I knew that was going to happen at some point, and I'm surprised it took an entire year. I think I came back and did more shows with Pussycat for like a weekend at some point, and then it was the kind of thing, whereas in any industry where it's like, look, you let someone do your job for you long enough and they're going to take your job. And
Mm,
so it was the kind of thing where they're like, hey, we're just going to keep Sam. And I was like, like, good, God bless,
yeah,
So, and he's still doing it, you know, God bless him. I keep saying that like I'm religious, and I'm not, but it's just all these. I think I'm in the South. I'm in Nashville now, so everybody's
yeah,
very like, oh,
yeah.
God bless him. But picking up on the local lingo here. But yeah, he's still doing it and kicking ass, and they're putting out singles periodically. I've been fortunate enough to play on some of them, some that aren't out yet, and whatnot. So again, it's like someone will be like some troll trying to tell me, I'll see, it's not really at the moment, but in the past couple of years, like, oh yeah, fucking, I heard that he did this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
motherfucker, I just talked to Tammy on the phone like 3 days
Fuck
ago.
off.
Don't you settle down,
Yeah.
armchair quarterback.
they're
So
the, they're the
a
worst.
lot of that. A lot of that. I was told that I'd be fired from LA Guns in the first 6 months, as I'm in my 6th year in the band and working on our 3rd or 4th album. I can't remember, however many albums now in for me. And just that stuff. I only touch on it because I can't help but like kind of roll my eyes at it at any instance, because I feel like no matter what band you're in or who you are, or if you're an athlete or you're an artist or somebody, there's just so many people on social media that just, all they can do is critique or talk shit or whatever you want to call it. And it's like, well, that's fine. You can have an opinion, but like, meanwhile, everybody else over there is actually doing something. So
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyhow, I'll leave that alone.
Well, sometimes all you could do is laugh at these comments too. You know what I mean? Because
for the most part, I'm not even going to keep going. I could keep going. I could keep going for a long time, but I'm not gonna. But I mean, to me, it's like, I was telling somebody recently, I was like, I'm not a millionaire, but I mean, I have a house by myself. I own a car. Like, what do you want from me? Like, and I wish I was independently wealthy or whatever, but like, that's, from working, from being a musician and creating and doing things and writing songs and doing things for television and for other artists or other bands or other projects. And I don't want to self-filate or self-congratulate, but there's something to be said about being able to, have a work ethic to put a roof over your head, and it's hard to do. And as someone who's done it, I'm just going to point out the obvious that, there's people that can do it, and then there's people that want to piss and moan and cry about it on the internet. And I'm the former. So, while they're taking snipes at me or whoever on gossip boards, I'm working on another song. So it is what it is. But anyhow, again, I said I wasn't going to go off. That's all
guys, just back the fuck up, please. Just like leave this.
No, actually, if anything, I welcome it, because it just, if anything, it just makes me want to work harder. So I go,
exactly.
I see the weird comments, and most of it's got nothing to do with me, but it's like, oh, blah blah LA Guns, and it's like, well, I'm in the band. Somebody was like, you can't call it your band. It's not your band. And I was like, well, I'm in the band. I played on the album, and I wrote some of these songs, and I'm in the pictures, and I'm playing in that band. How would you like me to word it, buddy? How would you
exactly
the band that I play guitar in, that I also record with and write songs with? But we don't want to call it. We don't want anyone to be upset because I referred to it as the band I'm in. Just again, these people that's all they have is to cry. So anyhow, again, I don't know how I segued into this, but that's my own.
It's all good, man. I don't mind listening to these type of things, because I see it on the internet as well, and sometimes I go through stuff and I'm just like, dude, just please don't waste your time.
I usually, I probably catch about half of the stuff that's out there. And most often there was something in the sort of whatever music news, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, someone had sent me. That's usually how it starts. Someone will send me something, and I'm like, okay, whether it's good or bad, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to peruse the comments, and I never engage, because most of it's like formats. Like, I'm not on Facebook, so it'll be like, oh, it's a Facebook thing. If I'm even able to view it, I'll be like, all right, I'm just morbidly curious. You know what I mean? So it can say like the worst thing ever, like, and I'm like, all right, it says a little bit more about these people than it does me. But if anything, it just, like I said, it just is like, all right, well, Jim in Sheboygan thinks I'm a douchebag, so I'm going to make sure that when I'm writing this next guitar riff, that I really want to upset him on the next record.
Yeah. But it's, as long as you're happy in what you do and you love what you do, that's all that fucking matters, man.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of where I was going with this, is that, like,
Mm.
I'm very, very lucky and fortunate. And I mean, it's not like, there seems to be a fraction of people that are like, oh, he just got this gig or some weird shit like that. And it's like, man, I'm 40. I started touring as a teenager in high school. I did my first, 4-state tour at 17. How many other people, and I mean, not like, who cares? But like, I started working at 17. I joined a touring band at 19 and I never stopped. So it's like, I have my entire adult life is just this, there's a Rancid song where he says, fuck, of course I'm misquoting him. It's like, this is all I've ever done. I have nothing else to fall back on. You know what I mean? It's like, this is literally all I've done. And there've been feast times and there's been, or famine. And I'm always grateful to sort of come through on the other side and, be able to, although, like I said, I'm not a millionaire, I'm not wealthy, but the fact that I'm able to, keep my lights on by playing music, I think, is a feat unto itself. And that goes for anybody. It's not just, look what I've done. That's for anybody, anyone that's playing music. I mean, even if you're playing music I mean, I'm in fucking Nashville, if you're playing music as a side hustle, or you're doing it down on Broadway or in a cover band or whatever, and somebody's paying you to play music in this day and age where everything's fucking free and everybody wants to open Spotify or YouTube and just get everything for free. I mean, you're already winning. You're already ahead of the curve, because most people will never even get that far. I mean, there's a fucking song. God, I'm just going self-congratulating. There's a song on the radio all week, this Monster Mash cover we did. And me and some friends with Sam Bam and Johnny Martin and Alex Kane, a couple other people, myself. And the guys in this thread about this song were like, most people spend their whole lives trying to get on terrestrial radio. And we literally were like, oh, hang on, we'll make a couple phone calls. And like, hey, we did this fun Halloween cover, and it got played immediately, like within a matter of days, so, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of, all the things I've done, even some of the things that at the time I was like, oh, this is such a pain in my ass, or, I mean, I've done gigs where there were certain people in the band that were a fucking nightmare, but even after the fact, I'm not going to name names, although I want to, I'm still proud of it because I fucking did it, and so ultimately, I think it's not about, oh, look at me, look what I've done. Who fucking cares? But what it is it should tell people that it's like, look, if you really want the drive to do something, whether you're a painter or a writer or a comic or a truck race driver or whatever
it is,
passion is, that if you really focus on that and throw yourself into it. I mean, I've been homeless, all that shit, and so living in my car and all that bullshit, it's like nobody sees that,
No.
They're like, oh, the guy on stage, how did he get there, what an asshole, it's like it's a lot of sacrifice and hard work. And so you have to put in the work if you want to be if you want to be a painter and like an artist painter, maybe you want to paint houses, I don't know, I'm not judging, but if you want to be known as an artist or whatever, you have to network and work and hone your craft. And I mean, fuck, I half the time I'm in this room till 5 a.m. the sun's coming up and the dogs are asking for breakfast, and I'm still going, I gotta write this, I gotta finish this. So anyhow, enough of me jerking off.
It's all good, bro.
That's just comes with the job, man. You wanted to know about it. Here we are. So sorry anybody's like, wow, I watched this thing and guys just talking about all this shit he's done.
Hey guys, you might learn something from this, okay? Like this is some important stuff out there, bro.
If anything, I'm just hoping that maybe someone will be like, okay, it's not easy. No one ever fucking said it was going to be easy. And if anybody told you it was going to be easy, then they lied to you. I mean, I have friends that are, oh, it sounds so douchey, but like I have friends that are really successful actors and writers and comics and all these other things that fall under the umbrella of the arts. And none of them were like, yeah, I just woke up one day and was really successful. It just doesn't fucking work that way. So I want anyone that's interested in whatever they're passionate about, that's hearing or watching or absorbing this, to know that like you can do it. Anyone, you can, like, you could probably be an astronaut. If you're 50, it doesn't fucking matter. If you pursue it hard enough. I mean, I don't know, maybe not, but like, if you really go after it hard enough, it's doable. And I'd like to think that there's an element of that in my, I'm really good. If there's one thing I'm good at, believe it or not, it's self-deprecating, but not right now, apparently. But, if there's one thing about my air quote career, is that, literally everything I put everything that I wanted to get out of this career, I got, and, as I literally am on the phone all week with not one, but two individuals from arguably, like, I can't say too much because it'll give it away, but like, I don't think at any point in my teenage years I would believe what I'm working on right now. I think and I've had that already. I've had that multiple times, whether it was this guy or that guy, or even if you were to be like, dude, you're going to be in this band, or you're going to work with LA Guns, or you're going to work with this, I would be like, whoa, okay, I don't believe you, but sure. Right now, the thing that I'm working on right now that I can't even talk about is so, like, literally, like, I'm like, if I knew as a teenager, if I knew at like 22, when I was like sleeping in the backseat of my old piece of shit Honda sedan, being like, wow, I really want to go lay down in traffic. If I knew any of that then, I would be like, I persevere. And I still did. And I didn't have any clue, so anyways, I'm hoping somewhere in that is something inspirational besides me just sounding like a jerk. But
nah, not at all, dude.
That's it. So if you're an artist or I mean, anything really, like, if whatever you want to do, you can make it happen. You just have to work for it.
Yeah, exactly. That goes to myself as well. I'm 37. I'm not wealthy. I live in a small apartment here in Wollongong.
Yeah.
5 minutes away from the beach.
Amazing.
I'm a part-time chef. Been chefing for like 13 years. I worked hard for that.
That rules.
And
I bet you're good at it.
Oh yeah, dude, it's a love-hate relationship.
Same thing here.
Yeah, there's been some times that it's just like halfway through my years and stuff, it'd be like, I'm so fucking over this. But then it depends who you work around with as well, and the team that you have with you.
Sounds like my job.
Yeah, and and I've been doing podcasting for 3 years as well. But like, this is new. This has only been going for 2 weeks, but this other podcast that I've been doing called Pink Sock Podcast that I do with my friend Mike. He's from Ohio. We met through this live stream during the pandemic a couple of years ago from Ryan Roxy, and then
I love Ryan.
We met a couple of people. You remember Kanak and stuff like that from the Voice It show? Yeah, that's when I first met you.
Oh my god, that was a minute ago.
Yeah, that was like what, 3 years ago or something like that, I think.
I think it feels like it's been longer because of the whole pandemic thing.
Yeah, but so I contact with Mike, and then Mike wanted me on because he just wanted an Australian on because Australians have weird accents. And I was just like a regular guest, and then his co-host couldn't do it anymore, so he asked me to do it. So I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be a pain in the ass with the time zone difference, but I'm willing to stay up to like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning for this. Like, I got nothing else to do. So I've been doing that for like 3 years. So, and then now, he let me do my own thing by doing this, and he's been very supportive as well. So I'm pretty lucky to have like those goals with me as well. But
I mean, you've still got your show going after a couple, you said 3 years now. I mean, that's alone is pretty impressive.
Yeah, so 3 years. Yeah, 3 years with Pink Sock and 2 weeks of doing this. So, and since I've started doing this, I've just been contacting people like yourself, and been trying to get in contact with like Piggy D and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie. But
I used to work. We Matt and Piggy D, Matt Montgomery, and I worked together in a clothing store about
Black Victory.
20. No,
No,
no.
that's
This was
after.
before. This was before he was known and before I was known, and I
Yeah.
was like 19, and he was probably in his mid-20s. We worked at like a used clothing store in the LA area.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met him once. This is when Rob Zombie was here in Australia 6 years ago, I think it was, and I was at the meet and greet, and everyone was super cool. This is when John 5 was still in the band, and Piggity was just cool, just a
Oh yeah,
really
he's
rad dude.
super sweet guy, very talented. I like his project he's got with Ash Costello called the Haxons.
Yes, yep. They just released a new single too.
It's good. Yeah.
Yes, right. You know, so obviously it's spooky season right now, but I know you jam with the boys with 69 Eyes.
Oh yeah.
There's a picture there. What was that like with them? Because I love 69 Eyes too, and I'm a big fan of their music, and I'm also a big fan of other Finnish bands like him.
Yeah.
Billy
Oh yeah.
and stuff like that.
I mentioned my tour manager with the psych degree. He currently tours with Ville from him.
I'm going to see him next week. Well, that sounded pretty weird, but like, yeah.
Yeah. The show's great. Have you heard the VV album?
Me and Mike reviewed it for Pink Sock Reacts.
I like it.
Me too. We gave it a I think it was like a 9.5 out of 10. We're not trying to kiss his ass here.
Yeah.
But
I would give it a 9 out of 10. I mean, it's definitely picks up where him left off. So
yeah.
69 Eyes. I don't know how I met Yerky. Yesterday was his birthday, actually. I must have known him. God, it's 2023. I've probably known him for 10 years, at least since 14. So yeah, 9-10 years. And I remember at one point he had told me, it couldn't have been that long ago, but he had said something about, he was like, "Oh, you're in all of my favorite bands," or something, because I had just joined LA Guns, and I was also doing some shows with a sort of reformed band from New York called the Throbs.
Okay.
And he was a big fan of them as well. And I think he was kind of just enamored with that whole Hollywood scene, etc., from afar. And we just became buddies. I was in a band with him. I did his first solo tour. We kind of jokingly were calling it the American Vampires, because I had put a band of American guys together. And we did this like 2-week, 10-day something tour of like the Southwest. No, I guess we went up to Seattle and Portland. I can't remember. It was 2016 or 17. It was before I was in LA Guns. And we did this whole run to sort of hype up. He had done a solo record for Cleopatra. And I think he's put out another one since. I can't remember. But yeah, that's just how I met him. And, he was like, "You should come jam with us." And I said, "Yeah, as long as the guys aren't bothered by it." I can't remember if I did that just once or if I did it a couple times. I think I did it twice.
Yeah.
But I'm getting kind of confused, because I'm like, well, I know I've been on stage with the guy a bunch because I was in his fucking band.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. I think they're a great band. There's definitely some stuff that's been recorded with Yerky and I and other people that I would assume at some point will see the light of day. But I definitely stopped holding my breath with stuff like that, because I feel like for so long I would be like, "Oh, I did this album with this guy," and then like 8 years would go by and it doesn't come out. Even I did the pop singer Tiffany, like, "I Think We're Alone Now." I played on her most recent album, and we recorded it years ago. Yeah. And it took like 3 years to come out. And I kept telling people, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be on Tiffany's new album." And they're like, "Uh-huh."
Yeah.
So,
still waiting.
Yeah. That's just how it works. But Yeah, I don't know. I love Yerky. I love Bazzi. I love all those guys. Yusi.
They're
Um,
all great.
they're all super sweet guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a bit of a language barrier with a few of them. They don't really. Some of the guys don't speak a lot of English, but they're always a good hang. I think before I left Hollywood for Nashville, I had most of the guys at the house. I think 3 or 4 of them came to my apartment. I had an apartment in the hills, and the hills at the foot of the hill, and they came over and we played guitar and drank whiskey and dumb 4 a.m. nonsense
Yeah.
before I moved to Nashville. So yeah, just good people, great band, and friends of mine, I guess.
No, that's cool. Like, Yerky, man, his voice is
He's got that
amazing.
baritone. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Even like the not because I know they started off like like a glam
Oh
metal-ish
yeah,
band a little
they
bit.
they were totally the early '69 I stuff. I mean, they started in the late '80s.
Yeah.
I can't remember what year. And the funny thing is I don't know if you're aware. They did a documentary on the band called 30. Fuck, what's it called?
Oh, is that when the it was the bonus DVD, wasn't it?
It
And
was
there
a
was one.
bonus DVD, and then it's its own thing. I mean, it's like a 90-minute documentary, but I'm the
It was on the West
narrator.
End. The
What's
West
that?
End DVD. It was the West End album.
Was
I'm
that
pretty
it?
sure the West End. I
It's
think so.
it's it's something something 30 years of, because I had to say it so many times. Of course, I can't remember. But I'm the
Yeah.
narrator. I also do some voiceover, and so I'm the narrator. It's like Helsinki vampires, 30 years of rock and roll, like this whole thing.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw the trailer to that. Yeah, it's from the West End album. I just looked it up on Spotify.
okay,
There was like a bonus DVD with that or something. Yeah, I saw the trailer to that, and I need to get my hands on that or find it somewhere that's streaming or something like that because
it's probably on YouTube. It's probably on YouTube at
maybe
this point.
it's all everything's on YouTube these days now. Like,
Yeah, yeah, a lot of stuff.
but yeah, if you ever get in contact with him, man, I would love to have him on here because I think this would be really good to
Yeah,
have him on. So I
I'll
know
ask
he's a
him. I
big
don't know
follower.
what his you know podcasting is. I don't know if he really does stuff like this, but I'll bring it up.
Yeah, it's always hard to ask people that you're a fan and follow to come to these things because like I contacted Riggs from Rob Zombie.
Oh yeah,
And because I know I'm a big fan of Rob Zombie. I loved him when he was with and without Rob Zombie. Scum of the Earth, still great as well.
yeah,
I messaged him and I'm like, dude, I'm just started a new podcast. Would you be interested? And he goes, I totally appreciate it, but no, I stopped doing interviews now, blah blah blah.
yeah,
What the reason was. I'm like, that's cool, man. Like, fingers crossed I see you in Australia next time. Done. Like I don't like to hassle people.
yeah, and that's fair. I mean, the worst, and also the worst thing that can happen is if you ask. This goes into kind of what I was ranting about earlier, but like the worst thing that's going to happen is they'll say no. So it can't hurt to ask.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like asking a girl out on a date. It's like,
In a way,
you know,
yeah,
going
yeah.
out on a date. No, I'm like, okay, but yeah, but you played with Murphy's Law as well, and I've only just discovered them recently. Um, fuck, they're great.
I love Murphy's Law.
Decent
Actually,
band.
this guitar, this custom Les Paul back there is actually the guitar I used for and I was only in the band for like 2 months. It wasn't very long,
Yeah.
which is kind of you know, the norm there. But
Were you did you record any stuff with them, or were you just like
there's
playing
no,
session?
but kind of. There's a live DVD that I'm on. So, I mean, like, is there a release that has me on it? I guess a DVD kind of counts. But no, and I don't know the last time they did like an album either. I think they're just one of those kind of legacy bands where they don't really, it's like people only want to hear the old school stuff, which I can empathize with because I'm in a lot of those bands. We only want to hear Electric Gypsy, so I get it.
Uh,
Um,
those people, yeah.
but it was a lot of fun. That was an interesting gig. Um,
Yeah.
a guy that was kind of my mentor in my early 20s is no longer with us. A gentleman named Todd Youth,
Okay.
who was in Murphy's Law for a long time. He was in Agnostic Front and Warzone and all these punk rock bands. And then in the 90s, he kind of made the move to go from being in punk bands to sort of, I can't explain his journey because he's not here to answer for me, but it was very similar to what I imagine I went through, where I was in my early 20s and I was playing in all these punk rock bands, and I was, like, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I was like, wait a minute, you live with your grandparents? Like, you're in this big band, like just weird shit like that, where I was like, okay, so this is all fucked up. And I also, more importantly, just as a musician, air quotes, and guitar player, I was like, I want to play more interesting stuff and different stuff. And, I stopped. The analogy I used to make was I was listening to less Stiff Little Fingers and more Thin Lizzy, and less, Misfits and more Alice Cooper, and so on and so forth. And so I was just getting into more rock music, and I wanted to sort of segue into that. And Todd was the guy I knew that had done that and had gone from these punk bands and then was playing in Ace Frehley and playing in Danzig and filling in for Motorhead and all these things. And so, and coincidentally, his bass player in several projects, the Chelsea Smiles and the Jesse Malin band and something else, was a guy named Johnny Martin, who's in LA Guns with me. So small world. But I really kind of modeled what I was doing after what he did. And where is it? Somewhere around here. And then another guy, I just fucking saw it. There's a postcard from Carrie Kelly I've had
nice.
for I don't know how long. Oh, there it is. There it is, right here.
That is cool.
He gave me this. I'm in my 20s. So this is at least 10, 12, 15 years.
Hell
and
yeah.
I remember I was like, okay, guys like that, guys like Todd, guys like, even you mentioned Piggy D, guys like that, like where it's like, okay, you're kind of ascending these ranks, I just tried to follow suit. I don't know what the talking point was that set me off on this Todd Youth thing, but Murphy's Law. So Todd put me in Murphy's Law. That's what it was. Todd was busy. Sorry, I've had a bunch of coffee. So
I've only had one coffee and one juice. So there you go.
I've had 3. So apologies here. Yeah, Todd put me in Murphy's Law. I was 23 or 24, mid-20s, and we spent a month in Japan, and I met some people then that I'm still friends with now, like Tokyo Hero, and spent some time with some people that I already knew, like the guys in the Bouncing Souls. And I used to live with the singer, Greg. I played guitar for his wife, Shanti, when I was like 20. And we did Warped Tour and all this other stuff. And other, again, going into the whole thing earlier where people just think, oh, he just ended up in Faster Pussycat or whatever. It's like, nah, motherfucker, there was a lot of gigs before that and leading up to that one, and there'll probably be more after this. But that was the Murphy's Law thing, a really pretty short period of time. Jimmy, the singer, tried to get me to stay. He was like, you could, try to get me to move to New York City and all this stuff. And I was like, nah, I don't think I want to do that. And I'm glad I did it. I would do it again if scheduling permitted or they needed somebody. And that's it. Sorry, I'm like fighting with my fucking ponytail right now.
So like, I don't need to worry about that.
And fair enough. Yeah. And well, inherently someone will go, oh, he cut his hair. And I'll just fucking relax.
Just chill.
Yeah. So, Murphy's Law. That was fun. Nothing but love for those guys. There's been like 100 people in the band.
That's kind of like LA Guns. Like LA Guns has more band members than anything else. But then it's two different versions.
I don't know the number, but it's also exacerbated by the fact that several times over there's been 2 simultaneous versions of a band. And then also when you think about it, the band's been around for 40 years. So like, okay,
Yeah,
so you get a different member every year, basically.
y-
You know.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. It's pretty crazy, especially with all the legal battles and all that crap that was going on, and
Yeah.
which I won't get
Love
into
that for us. That circus.
that. Yeah, but I'm kind of glad. I'm really glad that Phil and Tracy's they won. They won the battle, correct?
Uh, God, do I have to talk about all this?
Not
I
really.
mean, the other thing has to be called the guy's name,
Yeah,
the band. So
yeah,
this LA Guns is Tracy Guns and Phil Lewis.
Phil.
I
Yeah,
mean, as it should be. I mean, I guess in that same respect, I could start Ace Von Johnson's Faster Pussycat and probably
you
legally
could.
get away with it,
Yeah,
But again, like I that's to me is a bit silly, but I would have more respect for God. I don't want to talk about any of this. It's going to end up on some fucking blabbermouth shit.
it's all good.
I just think like I'm not going to go further, but like
Not
so my buddy does, there are ways to do it and call it something else where to me I think it gives it validity versus just like, like if I try to start Ace Von Johnson's, Murphy's Law, it would be like, what are you doing? Like that's ridiculous. But if I
mm,
did like Ace Von Johnson does songs from the bands he was in, cool. Like do that, So that's just how I look at it. Because again, like I didn't start that band. I didn't write those
no,
songs.
no,
Right.
not at all. Yeah,
And certain other people didn't start that band or write those songs either.
yeah,
So that's just how I look at it. And again, that's mostly me talking more as an outsider or a third party rather than as the guy in the band. So that's why I'm trying to also choose my wording carefully. But again, why get 99-cent store tepid off-brand cola when you could have classic Coke with Tracy and Phil?
yeah, exactly right. I like that. I like that. Drop mic, everyone. Boom.
There it is.
Yeah, no, 100%. But like, I've seen LA Guns live once, and they played a free show at Frankie's Pizza.
I remember that. I
Yeah,
love Frankie's. Frankie's is gone, right?
it's gone now. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is a shame because my best friend Blake Kateris, I've known him for a very long time. Just meeting him at gigs, and we just hang out a lot and stuff. He played. He was DJing for them for some nights, and he'll play for the live karaoke band as well.
Yeah.
And
That's cool.
yeah, yeah. I remember seeing LA Guns there, and they were doing a free show. It was supposed to be an acoustic show, and it was me, my friends, and stuff, and her partner and stuff like that. We all went to Frankie's and stuff, and then Phil Lewis was like in the vest and a cowboy hat. And he's just walking around shaking hands, and he shook my hand. And I'm like, Phil, can I get a photo, please? He goes, yeah, sure. I went to grab my phone, and he just took some random chick to a friggin' locker, to like the dressing room. I'm like, damn, I got rejected by Phil Lewis. But he shook my hand, so that's all that matters, man.
He's a sweet man, and
He is.
what can I
And he's
say?
so much energy as well.
He's still got that charisma. So God bless him.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was such a nice dude. And
He is.
to watch LA Guns play in a small little pub like that for free, like Frankie's, fuck, it was loud.
I bet.
It was awesome. Yeah, like obviously they played their hits and stuff like that, but to see them play, it was great. But my friend Blake was telling me, the drummer at the time, Shane.
Shane, yeah.
Yeah, apparently he was wasted and he went outside or something like that. I don't know, for a cigarette, maybe. The security guards wouldn't let him back in.
That's funny.
Yeah. But you've been to Frankie's, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I jammed there with some of the guys from the Art.
Okay.
Pussycat played, I can't remember what venue nearby, and there was an after party, and hung out and did a couple cover songs maybe. I don't remember. I definitely was enjoying a few beverages that evening, so it's a
Yeah.
little hazy, but it was a good time. I definitely know of of Frankie so much just from being friends with Jordan for so long. And I feel like I heard about it from him for so long that I was like, okay, I get it. I live there now.
I had to, when they were closing down, I had to buy a shit ton of the shirts.
As you do.
Yeah, I know there's a new venue up called the Duke. It's in Newtown, I think. It's I think it's the same guys from Frankie's Pizza, I believe. It's still like the same vibe and everything, but just under a different name.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't been there, but a friend of mine, he plays like live karaoke there. I think Tuesday nights, I think. But I have to go there one day if I get around to it. But I know you have a love for pit bulls.
Yeah.
And stuff, and you're part of the dog rescuing as well. Correct?
Yeah. I'm really just an advocate. I try to get involved hands-on wise as much as I can.
Yeah.
I wish I had the means to do more. I've done some transport, and there was just an event here in Nashville the week before last. There was this national campaign. I don't know if you have this down there, but there's a pet store in America called Petco. Pretty big brand, like Walmart of pet stores. And they have a charity division called Petco Love. And the woman who's in charge of outreach there and I had met at another event in Maryland last year. And she had reached out to me and said, hey, we're doing this concept called Rock Stars of Rescue. And it's like a play group thing where they basically bring all the dogs that are social out and let them do play groups. And we're trying to just reach out to some musicians to have them involved. And so I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. If I'm totally in. And so I went and did this event. It was this month, so maybe 2 weeks ago, and and it was interesting because it was nationwide. I think it was at 43 locations across America. They had these events in the same weekend, and it was like Dolly Parton this, and Rick Springfield this, and Ace Von Johnson this, and I was like, oh, I don't belong in this group. Those are rock stars. Those are famous musicians. And I'm neither of those, but it was really a cool thing to be a part of. And anytime I get the opportunity to lend a hand or participate in anything like that, I'm always the first one to say, yeah. So I know a couple people over the years seem to think I have like a rescue organization or something. I don't know how I would have the means to do that while I'm on tour, or doing the other elements of my job. I wish I did. But ultimately, I'm just sort of an advocate, like I said. So anything rescue related, doesn't just have to be pit bulls or dogs in general. I ended up with 2 turtles briefly in my care a couple months ago. And so just anything like that. And, it's just something I'm passionate about. And then of course the thing with bully breeds, pit bull type dogs, they get maligned in the press frequently. And, you'll hear about, some negative instance or whatever. And then people seem to negate the fact that there's 300,000 or like several, upwards to 1 million. So nobody has a definitive number, but, excuse me, I said 300,000. I think it's 3 million plus, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these dogs that are just living as somebody's pet, or more likely just in a shelter somewhere, or being abused somewhere or something like that. And where nobody seems to want to focus on that. It's like, if you took 100,000 people, you're going to find a couple criminals or, you know, somebody that's a terrible person. But that doesn't mean that those other 900,000 people should be, you know, sent to prison or euthanized. So
Yeah.
to me, it's kind of that same mindset where it's like, you know, there's an expression in the industry, it's called punish the deed, not the breed. And the other fact is that you've got these types of dogs. I keep using that word because pit bull is a type. It's not a breed. There's an American pit bull terrier and an English pit bull terrier and all, you know, all these other things. But when you say pit bull, the analogy you make all the time is I say, it's like saying I'm from Europe. Well, where? Morocco, Germany, France,
Yeah.
Italy, you know, Chemnitz, Austria. Those are all very England. They're all very different parts of Europe, aren't they? So you get these different types. I mean, you get an English Bull Terrier like Spuds McKenzie. You get a Dojo Argento. You get a Staffy like I have one. You get a big meatball. You know, and so there's just all these different types of dogs. Why would you just be like, nope, they're all bad. They're all bad. They should all be put to sleep. It just, and there are people like that, you know, you can't. That's what I'm fighting against is like, okay, if this dog did something terrible, then that's actionable. But why would you just, you know, apply that to everybody else? I mean, I've been bit by Chihuahuas. I've been bit by a Dachshund. I've been bit by a Border Collie. I've been bit by Shepherd types of dogs. And these are people's pets. You know what I mean? And I'm not going like, oh, Border Collies need to be euthanized. I'd sound like a loon. So, you know, and then you get all this jargon. They have locking jaws. They do not have locking jaws. They just have a very strong bite. I know, I've been bit by one before, you know, but also at the same time, there are dogs out there that have stronger PSI in their bites. It's just people want to sensationalize anything. And I'll see in my efforts, you know, you'll see like, oh, pit bull does this. And more often than not, you won't find a photo of the dog, because all they want is they just want the term that sensationalizes it, which is like, oh, pit bull did this, you know, and it's like, well, what it really was is it was just this mutt dog. And then they don't talk about where, you know, it was like, oh, was it from the neighbor's meth den down the street where they're probably fighting the dogs, or the guys, you know, doing something questionable. I have a dog that I have a foster fail in my possession that was sexually abused by somebody.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So people don't talk about shit like that. You know, it's like, oh, the dog bit somebody. That's terrible. But it's like, what? And it was also a bait dog, you know, and it's like, what went on before that? You know what I mean? So there's all these other things that people just tend to gloss over, you know, and it's like, yes, there have been terrible things done by pit bull type dogs. There have been terrible things done by German shepherds and Rottweilers and all kinds of other dogs, especially when they're large dogs. Because again, if you have a large pet, a large animal living in your house and you're responsible for it, that's on you, you know. So we need more responsible pet owners. And unfortunately, a lot of these types of dogs are so loving and so smart, and all they want to do is make you happy. And I make this analogy all the time, or this comparison or whatever, is there are these dogs where you have a person that's saying, I want you, my pet, to fight this person or other animal or other dog or this whatever it is, and I'm not going to feed you, I'm not going to give you any love, I'm not going to do any of these things for you until you do that. And there are dogs that will go, okay, dad says I have to fight you, you know. And that's not what they want. That's what they've been bred for, but we've also been domesticating them for 100 years. So there's elements of that in the mix where people are looking for that, these sort of criminal types. And the dogs that don't do that, because most of them do not want that, they're either killed, turned into bait dogs, or what you see the most of is they just get dumped and they end up in a shelter. And there's some dog going, I don't know what I did. The last thing that happened, this guy was beating the fuck out of me, and now I'm in a shelter, you know. And here in the States, the bulk of those dogs they leave in trash bags, you know. And so people just think that they're in a shelter, they're fine. No, they leave in trash bags. That is the morbid reality of it. So people are like, oh, that's that guy that's the pit bull guy. You fucking bet your ass I am, you know, because of all those dogs, let's just take 1,000 of them. There may be 5 of those dogs that don't like people. There may be 20 of them, and okay, maybe they're not sociable. Maybe they can't be in the Rockstar Rescue playgroup. Okay, fine. That's fine. I have a dog that may be in that category, but guess what? I still love that pet, you know, and it's like if you had, you know, there's people we meet along the way that maybe aren't people friendly, or maybe they're introverted or whatever. You don't euthanize them based upon that. And these are domestic pets. These are man's best friend, literally, you know. So I'm very, very strong in my opinion on it. I mean, I have an 11-year-old dog that has saved my life figuratively and has saved my life literally. So when people are like, oh, it's just a dog or whatever, I go, no, motherfucker. You see somebody that rolls up on you with a gun and your dog prevents that person from harming you, that is, you cannot put a price on that. And that dog is in every shelter in every city in America. You just have to find it, you know. So there's people that need to stop acting, and I don't really do it anymore because I'm done with social media. But there were
times, blame you.
No one should blame me. I detest social media. But there were times I would argue with these people. I go, how many of you that, you know, like, oh, pit bulls, and I'd be like, can you cite a real world example? Did you have them? Did you have multiple dogs? Have you met? Well, my cousin's old kid's friend from grade school's neighbor got bit by one. And I'm like, so now you're perpetuating it on that? I'm like, look, I've had them my entire adult life. Maybe you should let the people that have real world experience run with the ball and have the talking stick before you start just perpetuating, you know, nonsense because your neighbor's uncle's dog sitter's best friend's niece's, you know, goddaughter got bit on the foot by one in 1994. So there's definitely a lot of that. And of course, with social media and the internet now, and again, I use this term sensationalized, but something will happen and it's all over the thing. There's like social media pages and groups just devoted to, like, you know, like, we should kill these types of dogs. And it's like, you know, you should come to my house. I welcome you to try, you know, and it's not the dogs. That's not a threat for my dogs. That's coming from me. And because these are like my kids, you know. And so I just, you know, let me bring it down a notch. But like, you know, there's people on the internet. I had for about 2 months, I had a group of people that were harassing me, sending me pictures of dead dogs, and we're going to find you. We're going to take a rifle and shoot your dog and all this stuff. And that's like, you can say what you want about me, in my opinion, on dog rescue or pit bulls or whatever. And that's just me trying to have a cause. Those type of people are sick. That's sick. There's a thing called pit bull drop off that people were trying to do, or were doing, where it was basically you would go take one from a shelter and then harm it and then dump it somewhere or just drop it off somewhere. Just horrible things. There are horrible people out there that do horrible things to these dogs, and nobody is doing teacup poodle fighting rings or you know, dachshund death matches. It's these types of dogs, because they're so muscular and because all these qualities that were bred into them and literally the hundreds of years ago, that people like myself have spent the last, you know, their whole lives trying to just re-domesticate pets. And you have these dogs that, you know, for 5 generations have just been somebody's pet on their couch. I think the only reason there isn't one in here is because they've all gone to sleep in my bedroom. But there's these people that are trying to bring back, it's like the same mindset of like being, and I don't want to politicize this, but being like, you know, in the 1800s we had to kill other people for food, and it's like, but you don't have to do that now. Why would you want to do that now? Like, just go to the grocery store and say hello to the clerk and buy your groceries and go home.
Exactly.
It doesn't need to be that volatile. So I just wish more people, you know, there's a really great website. I'm going to pull this up real quick.
That's so good.
I believe it's called pitbullinfo.org. Pitbullinfo.org. There it is. And it's got completely unbiased statistics from the AKC and the CDC and all these like legitimate organizations and groups that work with like animals and you know, like, you know, people are so hell-bent on not paying attention to like actual facts. But as much of facts can be presented on the internet, I encourage people to check that website out if they have any questions, or they heard from their neighbor's friend's niece's godson that one time something happened. So definitely please check there. It's completely unbiased, and sorry you opened a can of worms here, but
No, it's so good. I reckon pit bulls are a beautiful breed.
Yeah, and don't be fooled either. I mean, this is a lot of dog. I have one that's 75 pounds. I have one that's 55 and one that's 45. So I mean, again, if you're gonna get I'm trying to think of some large breed that doesn't get discriminated against. But if you were going to get 100-pound dog, you wouldn't be like, it's fine, I'm sure, whatever. It's like you have to be a responsible pet owner. So and take that into consideration, and not just assume that it's just like gonna have this logistic element that human beings have, because it's still, at the end of the day, it's still a pet. I have nerve damage in one of my fingers from a cat, from trying to save a cat, and
wow.
Like I wouldn't be like, oh, my finger got hurt by this cat getting attacked by another cat, breaking up a cat fight. Okay. So again, like, people need to be smarter about stuff like that. And unfortunately, as my rant will show you, there's just a ton of people, not a ton, but there are people out there that just, all they want is to do harm. And that's all they have. And it doesn't have to be a troll picking on a band member or something like that. I mean, there just are terrible people out there. I think everybody's aware of that. And unfortunately, as a pit bull owner and an advocate, and this applies to all elements of rescue, it's not just pit bulls, dogs and cats are all subject to these horrible fucking things. I've seen it, so just, that's why I get so angry, is knowing that there are people out there doing these things, and then people doubling down and pushing back, being like, oh yeah, these dogs are bad. And it's like, there are some bad dogs, but you can't, what's that expression? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, kind of thing,
Yeah, something like
one
that.
bad apple spoiled the bunch, etc., etc. So it's the same thing. I would never, oh, my one record is scratched, I better throw them all away. That, again, sheer stupidity. Let's change the subject, because I'll go on for another hour. Trust me.
It's all good, man. No, it's quite interesting, and I love your passion.
Thank you.
For this, and I think it's awesome, and I can stay with it, dude, because I could tell that you love animals. You're an animal person. I'm an animal person as well. Even though I don't own any pets, my mum does, but like I've owned used to have pets when I was younger and stuff like that. But I just miss having pets around. They're great to have.
It's good for the soul. It really is, and in any capacity. I mean, even a fucking goldfish, man.
Anything, man. It could just be a freaking turtle, dude. Like, it can make you happy.
Oh, you got to will it to somebody, because most of those species will outlive you. And it's really a wonderful part of the human experience. This whole thing that we're all going through from birth to the end, it's an experience. And I actually feel a level of pity for people that go through life. And obviously, this is such a first world, but like, I feel bad for people in a normal situation that have never experienced what it's like to have a dog. That's just such a huge part of my life, from childhood to my teenage years to my, late 20s into my adult year, my old man here, as a 40-year-old man here now. And I feel bad for anybody that's never known that, because it's literally, I mean, it's man's best friend, or woman's best friend, or human being's best friend, right? And I think it's definitely an experience that I wish everybody would have, because I think it would make most people a better person. All these things, the mutual love, and you're taking care of something, and all these, wow, this TED Talk has really taken a turn. But just all these things that, you don't get in everyday life. I mean, there are days where I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be awake right now. I fucking hate my life today. And I don't feel well, whether it's physically or emotionally. I have a pretty severe back injury that bothers me all the time.
Is it
And
from doing this?
no, that's actually the other way around. I'm able to do that. Not so much anymore, but that's from doing yoga to remedy my back injury, which is why I don't notice I keep fidgeting and leaning and all these things. It's because I'm in constant state of a moderate state of pain, and so
That's
there
kind
are
of like
days.
myself.
Go ahead.
I'm a bit like that myself. I have like low back issues as well.
I think it comes with age. Mine, I was in a car
Yes.
accident, so mine's a
Yeah.
little different. But all I'm saying is that there are days where I don't want to get out of bed, and I have a dog or multiple dogs that are like, "No, motherfucker, you're going to get up and you're going to walk me, and you're going to feed me, and you're going to give me dog treats. You're going to scratch my head, and everything's going to be okay." And that's why I have dogs and why I'm probably still sitting here.
And
next.
And this photo before we move on,
Sure.
this photo here, I love this photo of it's Milo, correct?
Milo, yeah.
Milo, that is a cute photo. That's the eldest one. Yeah, correct.
That's the one I've had the longest.
Okay, yeah.
The oldest is the boy Rufus. We don't really know how old he is. He's probably she'll be 11 in a couple months, so he's probably 12, 13, 14, 15. He's maybe a year or two older than her. He doesn't have teeth anymore, so they can't really tell me definitively how old he is, but he's up there. But I've had her for 10 years.
That's such a beautiful photo, and dogs need to be fucking treated like humans as well, man. Like just anything.
She's like my kid, man.
And since you mentioned yoga, I love doing yoga as well.
That's great.
My ex-partner, who I'm still good friends with still, she's a qualified yoga teacher, and she's heavily into it. So, like, awesome. What got you into yoga? Is it from your back injury?
Yeah, I'm not a yogi or anything. I don't know anything about anything. Just mostly looking for methods, stretches and stuff like that to alleviate some discomfort and whatnot, and just help limber, loosen up before going on stage or doing anything like that. There are times where I spend a lot of time stretching before I go on, and there's times where I don't or I forget to. And I usually, especially as I've, not to keep hampering on it, but like as I've gotten older, I can feel it immediately after, or I think I pulled something in my shoulder, like getting off the couch. I was like, oh, I'm officially that old now. So but I think it's a wonderful outlet for a lot of reasons, but mostly to remedy my perpetual back pain, which also, not for nothing, definitely is reduced when I'm going to the gym and working out and training and in a more physically fit shape. I'm kind of lukewarm right now in all of it. They're usually before a tour, I'll train for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks. And I'll notice that because my core gets stronger or whatever, nonsense terminology, I can feel a difference. But when I go back to being a bum or in my current state where I'm hunched over working on the computer and, pulling up files and writing this and a guitar like a, crooked old man, it's a little more severe. So it comes and goes, basically. Don't get hit by cars, basically, is the moral of the tale. Don't get in car accidents.
Yeah, exactly right. Nah, but
and it was their fault. I was stopped at a red light, just to clarify, in case anyone was curious.
You bloody bastard, whoever you are, man.
Yeah,
I'm after you. I may be from the other side of the world, but like I'm gonna hunt you down. You for an ace.
We've let it go. I've learned to let a lot of things go in life. It's one of the best pieces.
The best thing that you can do. Yeah, exactly right. But let's get into horror movies really quick.
Please, yeah.
We could talk for hours. Do you have a time limit or anything?
I probably
An hour.
maybe another 20 minutes or so. I don't like to leave the dogs too
Oh, that's
long. I
fine.
know one of them
Yeah.
needs to go out, but yeah, another 20 or 30. Also, nobody in their right mind is going to want to listen to me talk for 2 hours anyhow. So I'm sure by this point, a lot of these people have tuned out. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
And
horror movies. I see you're a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan.
that Evil Dead.
Oh
Sure.
yeah.
I got a couple of horror tattoos as well.
What do you got?
You got
Oh yeah, Michael
Myers,
Ghostface.
Leatherface, and Jack Skellington.
Ah, yes, I have a Jack Skellington tattoo.
Yeah, from Nightmare Before Christmas. That was my last tattoo I got by my awesome tattoo artist, Nate Shepard.
Cool.
Awesome dude. He's done my last 3 tattoos. Yeah, I've got fucking heaps of cool shit, man. I've got Leatherface pillow on my bed.
Yeah, I was admiring that. That's really cool.
Gunner. It's actually double-sided.
Oh, that's cool. Gunnar Hansen, who played Leatherface in the original film before he passed, was a friend.
Oh, that's awesome.
A very, very sweet man. Also a very outspoken dog rescue advocate. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Wait, let me see the other side again. Okay, so that's like the original TCM.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, and then let me see the other side. Huh. So that's like almost like the remake.
Or
is it just that
I think it's the original as well, because correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it like in a dinner table scene where
the mask is different? The mask is different. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. That's really cool.
It's so funny. When I was with my ex-partner,
I have a chainsaw tattoo as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Whatever. Keep going.
So my partner at the time, like I said, we're friends as well.
Yeah.
When she would stay over at nighttime and stuff, and I'll be at work and stuff, or I'll go to the gym after work and she'll be in bed, and then like I had these pillows in the back. I come back from work from the gym and these pillows are on the floor. I'm like, why did you move them? And she's like, they're in my way. I'm like, no, they stay there.
Yeah.
I don't care what you think. Like, they're people too. They won't know what's going on. It's all good. Just leave them there and stuff like that. But yeah, I got the Chainsaw Massacre pillow from creepyco.com.
Cool. Yeah, great company.
Have you gotten stuff from them? I bought heaps of shit from them. Like,
I definitely have a couple smaller things from them. I think I have it might be here. I think this glow in the dark. I don't know if you could see that. Is it glow in the dark? Like vampire teeth, pin, badge, whatever.
I've seen that on there, yes.
On them.
I got heaps of just cool stuff. I got fucking like Pennywise with a mustache.
Oh, that's cool.
If only Pennywise was Mexican. I got this really cool Friday the 13th lamp. It actually lights up, but it's not connected in. But yeah, I got like pop vinyls of Michael Myers. I'm a big Ghost fan. I love the band Ghost, so I've got that. I just got heaps of cool shit. Like,
cool.
The hoodie that cost me an arm and a leg, but it was worth it. And obviously, Creepshow.
Very well. It's my second favorite 80s horror movie.
Yeah, I actually couldn't believe how long.
I think I just took a picture. I collect original theatrical posters. I actually took this earlier today. That's the French. That's the 1983 French Grand Release. So this is, you can't really tell, but it's about 5 feet tall. So almost.
Yeah.
I have.
That is awesome.
I actually have a couple Australian Day bills. I have Creepshow 2. I'm on my computer right now, otherwise I'd take you with me. But
That's all good.
my whole house is covered, other than the office, is
Yeah.
covered only horror theatrical movie posters, going back,
Yeah.
some stuff going back to the 40s. So
Yeah. You've always been a collector of like horror stuff?
um yeah, I guess so. I got into horror movies when I was a little boy. My dad grew up in the LA area. Both my parents were originally from LA, as am I. And
Yeah.
um my dad grew up down the street from a director named William Castle, who did The Tingler and House on Haunted Hill, two well-known Vincent Price films. He also produced Rosemary's Baby and a couple other well-known things. And my dad was, growing up in the Valley in LA in the late 50s. And so it was just like horror movies and, showing, all the Karloff stuff and just all of that. And so as a little boy, that's what he enjoyed watching, was these black and white classics. And I really gravitated towards Vincent Price. He's still my favorite of the lot. And
He was great in Edward Scissorhands as well.
yeah, as the inventor. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. That was his last on-screen role.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, and so that's how I got into horror movies, and I just started collecting the posters or one sheets or three sheets and day bills and inserts, etc., quads, in my 20s, and I've probably amassed over 100 of them. I was talking to a buddy about it today because he had
Yeah.
sent me a picture of what year was that? 1932 Dracula or whatever it was. And he was like, "Oh my God, this thing's worth $500,000 or something, like some absorbent amount of money." And I said, "Yeah, man, a lot of those fetch a lot of money." I have a 1956 Creature Walks Among Us one sheet that's worth probably a couple grand.
Whew.
And I have a House on Haunted Hill French Grand from 1959. Again, it's like 5 feet. It's like 4 by 5 feet. It's big. That's probably worth, I don't know, at least $1,000. And which was, I was fortunate it was a gift. But it's kind of like collecting art, I guess, in a way. So I've been chasing these things for a long time. I kind of stopped because I got most of the kind of ones I wanted that I could afford. And I also ran out of wall space. I don't know how many are framed in the house, but I would guess at least 30.
Yeah.
My whole upstairs in the hall is all 80s. So it kind of stops there. Of course, this is the worst way to do it, but there's like,
oh, wow.
there's Return of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead 2, Creepshow 2. There's a Shining day bill there, and then Creepshow,
Yeah.
French Grand. That's all my hall going down in my bedroom right here this way.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, so just for a long time, I'm a big fan of the classics, and then of course like the 80s stuff where I grew up watching. And so just like I said early, I try not to get like a bunch of toys or collectibles. I have some, but
Yeah.
mostly
Me too. I'm the same as well. Like the same as you. I've got a small apartment as well, and it's just heaps hard to keep things in places when you only have minimum storage and space.
Yeah, I mean, I've totally run out of space. I don't know. I tried to do to catalog what I have, because I keep looking to my closet here because I have however many of them, 50 or whatever, and they fold up, and so they just, there's however many of them in a big binder that's like this thick, and then that's it. So
Yeah.
I'll get more of them, or I'll be on tour at like a pawn shop, or I'll be at a horror convention and I'll buy one, $50 or $20 or whatever it is. And then I'm like, well, I want it and I love the art, but I don't have any room for it. And I don't like it more than the ones I already have up. So I'll just put it in this folder and I'll go through it maybe once a year. I'll be like, I don't remember buying this, And
Yeah.
so that's
Unless if you're Kirk Hammett, he has like I believe he's like has like a massive horror collection.
He does. Yeah, he probably has the biggest public publicly known collection. I've actually gotten there's a few like heritage auctions and some stuff where I found out later that he and I were like bidding on the same stuff. There was an instance where Corey Taylor was also won a bid on a Creature from the Black Lagoon piece.
Yeah.
That I was after, which I got later on. So we both have it. But yeah, Kirk's got as far as I know, the biggest collection of horror one sheets, theatrical posters, I think, publicly. I'm sure there's probably other people, but maybe they don't advertise it, or they don't have the platform that the guy from Metallica has to be like, oh, look at my collection. But I did see in person he did a thing a couple years ago at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, and get to see a lot of his collection firsthand. And then he has a Twitter page that he uses for it, that I thought was cool when it followed me. I think I was like tweeting back when it was still called Twitter. Tweeting about, yeah, it's still Twitter to me, but we were going back and forth about some horror one sheets, and he followed me, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But yeah, he's definitely got an amazing collection. There's a really cool documentary on some of his stuff that I think is on YouTube as well. So if anyone has the interest in seeing Kirk Hammett's collection, it's definitely there's a really great coffee table book on it as well. So
might have to check that out one day.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. I just like the art. So a lot of it to me is like, well, I've seen the movie 50 times. I don't really want to watch the movie, but I'll definitely stand, like every day in my hall downstairs, I literally will stand there with a cup of coffee and be like, all right, oh, that's cool. I didn't notice that before, or whatever. Just, it's like anything, like you have art in your house or records that you pull out or whatever it is. So
I like that idea of that. I think that's smart.
Yeah.
It's what I like. Yeah, you can just wander around your house and just like, some cool shit here.
Yeah. I'm like I said a few times, I'm pretty fortunate in my endeavors and my travels. I've been able to scoop up a lot of these things or had them gifted to me. People a few times have reached out and said, hey, I know you like this stuff. I have this. Do you want it? And I'm like, yes, I do. So it's a dumb, I make no qualms about being a nerd. I'm a total nerd. I'm a fan of music and art and horror and all these things. And so, I'm not too cool to be like, oh man, oh my God, is that a Jack Davis piece from 79?
Yeah. I used to say that to my ex. I'm like, I'm just a horror nerd, man. Like, I'm normal and I'm really just down to earth when you meet. Like, we hang out and do stuff, but I'm a 100% horror nerd because I can tell. And I've got mask as well. Like, I got the Halloween mask. I've got Art the Clown as well. And I got Captain Spaulding as well. It's in my living room. And I remember this. My partner at the time, she was cleaning my house. I don't know why. She was just cleaning my apartment. And then she was cleaning the shit off the dinner table. And then she got the Captain Spaulding mask and just puts it in the middle. I'm just like, oh, you didn't have to do this. And I turn around. She's like, this Captain Spaulding mask. I'm like, you put it there? She goes, yeah, I thought it was, look good on the dinner table. I'm like, all right, no, keep it there. All right. And stuff like that. But before we go, top 5 horror movies.
In no order: Creepshow, The Shining, The Exorcist, House on Haunted Hill 59, and fuck me.
It's always a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah. Favorite horror movie. Top 5: Creepshow, Shining, Exorcist, House on Haunted Hill. I'm trying to think of stuff I can actually rewatch. There's stuff I love, but I'm like, 5 times is enough. And then there's like horror adjacent films where it's like, is like, to me, Beetlejuice isn't a horror movie, but it is.
Back then,
It's
yeah.
totally a horror movie. It's completely a
Yeah.
horror movie, but to me, it's like my childhood, so it's like it transcends that. And then like you could say the same thing about in a similar sense, like The Thing. The Thing is a science fiction film, but that's definitely horror.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I'll just go with what I just said. So Beetlejuice, because I mean, the guy's a fucking demon. Like,
Yeah. It's true. And the second one's coming out next year, I believe.
yeah. I have really low expectations. Beetlejuice is probably my favorite movie of all time. Full
Yeah.
stop. So, and as a guy who's probably seen that movie
2 million times.
300 times in his life. I remember as a little boy, I used to count. I remember being like 8 years old and being like, I've seen Beetlejuice 100 times.
Yeah. I was
yeah.
terrified of that movie when I was young.
I mean, yeah, it's a scary movie.
It is.
It's funny because I was just talking about this last week. My first crush that I can remember having was on not Lydia, but it was on Catherine O'Hara. I had a crush on the stepmom in that movie. I will go insane and I will take you with me. I mean,
yeah,
such a great movie. Yeah. So there we go. There's my top 5 or whatever.
And I know you're a guitar player, and I'm a guitar player as well. So your top 5 guitar players that influence you to play guitar.
That influenced me. Well, my number 1 would be John Christ from the first 4 Danzig records.
Yeah.
And John, if you hear this or see this, which he very well may, I doubt it, but he may. I hail you and thank you for your friendship. John Christ by a landslide. Joe Walsh, Scott Gorham from Thin Lizzy, the Glendale Gunslinger. Captain Sensible from The Damned. That's 4.
Yeah.
And because he's super underrated as a guitar player, people just go, "Oh, he's in a punk band." No, that guy can play his ass off.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to my record collection. I'm like, someone help, someone for the assist. I'm trying to think who was influential for me as a young man. Fuck, Kirk Hammett.
Yeah. I think for my top 5 guitarists that influenced me to pick up a guitar will probably be it can be from the old to now, but Kirk Hammett was one of them.
Yeah,
obviously. I'm not saying that because he's half Filipino, because I'm half Filipino as well. But
cool.
I just like this style. Ryan Roxy from
God, yeah.
Ryan, I met him once, and he's a big supporter of Pink Sock as well.
Cool.
A good friend of Mike's. I just love his stage persona. He's what he can do on stage to entertain the crowd, and he was one of them. John 5, because that dude can just play anything. But then again, like Hendrix and Page. So
yeah, well, you can't touch those guys. I mean, that's like next level. Yeah, for sure.
See, I could say you, but then I'd be kissing your ass there.
I'm not. I shouldn't be anybody's anything in that arena. Trust me. Yeah. I mean, I was just trying to think of guys that I liked.
Yeah.
As a teenager that I was like trying to learn their stuff. Definitely Slash. I still really love Slash's. Just his sort of like bluesy's the wrong term, but like just the way he's able to emote in these blues phrasing, what he did for the Les Paul as a guitar, in an era where everybody was just playing pointy guitars. Yeah, I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them in this room, believe it or not.
I've got more in the living room.
Yeah. So I'm a Les Paul guy, and I think it stems from Slasher and Joe Walsh, Really?
But see, mine's an Epiphone, but with a Gibson headstock.
Ah, interesting.
I know. But yeah, all my guitars are in the living room and stuff, and my big Marshall amps in the living room. Like, I don't play in a band; I just play for fun because I love music. But I got the trusty Spark amp
Cool.
there as well, which those are awesome. But dude, like, thank you so much. I know we've had to reschedule heaps of times.
Yeah, sorry.
And no, it's all good. And I know I think the first day was supposed to do it. You were unwell or something, you just woken up and stuff. I'm like, it's all good, man. Like, shit happens. But we made it work. It was a good hour and 35 minutes. I apologize if I didn't want to keep you up any longer because I know it's late over there. But is there anything that you want to promote, like just yourself, social, like any of your social media links or whatever, or
no,
anywhere they can find you?
Honestly, if you're trying to find me, your best bet, I have a .com and it has links to everything. I have a Patreon that I spend a lot of my free time working on and creating. So it's cliche to say, but creating content for, and really great little community. Is about 100 people in there on different tiers. So if anybody's curious about that, patreon.com/AceVonJohnson. But all that's, and I have an Instagram and I have a Twitter. I'm not very active on either, other than mostly reposting dogs from shelters looking for networking, et cetera, et cetera. But just anything at Ace Von Johnson. Usually I'm not on Facebook. I had somebody try to argue with me about 2 weeks ago that said that they were talking to me on Facebook. And I said, I don't have a Facebook. I'm not on Facebook.
You're just talking to some
random dude. I'm talking to you, and I tagged you in this post. I said, I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know who you're tagging, but it's not me.
Yeah, exactly.
So no Facebook. But yeah,
that's cool. And obviously your Instagram as well. I'm mainly on Instagram anyway, more than anything else. But guys, this is Ace Von Johnson, and please go check out LA Guns' latest album, Black Diamonds, which is amazing. Dude, we have to get you on next time and just talk horror movies for an hour.
Yeah, we'll do that in the future.
Yeah, whenever you get time, and we just keep in touch and stuff like that, dude. Appreciate you, everybody. Good. Remember, stay kind and stay creepy, and see you all next time, guys.
Great advice. Peace. Thanks for having me.
No worries.